This is what, the 52nd?
It is.
52nd winter hike, and I know we talked about it earlier, actually the first winter hike was on your birthday, but how did the winter hike get started?
Well, it's kind of funny, but the very first naturalist at Hocking Hills, which is going back a few years, his name was Norv Hall. And back in 1965, we didn't have the crowds we do now, and it was a lot quieter, and coming here in the winter could be kind of a solo experience. And he was just livid that, folks have no idea what they're missing. These beautiful ice formations and the waterfalls that freeze and the ice sheets, and they have got to see this. There's got to be a way to get them out here, he said. So back in January, back then in 1965, he got the idea of doing a hike, which naturalists do frequently, but let's make it a special one, just about the winter. We'll call it the winter hike. And little did he know what he was getting started. In those days, the first year, it actually started at Ash Cave and went to Old Man's Cave. Okay. So backwards from how we run the route now. It's all about parking now, so we've switched it around. But it just continued to grow and grow and grow and grow into what it is today.
Well, today, we don't have the snow, obviously, and the ice, but it's the water. The waterfalls, I've never seen it this beautiful and running the way they are. What can people see here besides, the natural beauty? You have hemlock trees, and you have caves and waterfalls.
Yeah, there is so much to experience here. And obviously that's the main thing that brings folks here, the rock formations, the waterfalls, the hemlocks. But what I always tell folks is take the time to look small. Looking big is easy. You can find the big waterfalls in the rocks, but looking small, some of the wildlife, even some of the micro things growing in the rocks and living in the rocks in there, take the time to be a little bit of a nature sleuth while you're out here and really examine, because there are some beautiful things. And it varies every season of the year. Obviously the ice in the winter, spring, the wildflowers here will blow your mind. It's one of the best birding spots in Ohio as far as 260 plus species of birds. So summertime you can do that. And then of course the fall colors. The diversity of trees here, one of the best places in the country to come look at the fall colors.
Well, you talked about the first couple that were sparsely attended, but a day like today, we may see 3,000 to 4,000 or 5,000 people, you think?
Easily, yeah, especially as warm as it is today. That tends to bring out folks that are sometimes on the rocks about, do I want to go out in the cold or not? But when it gets this warm, yeah, it'll bring out large numbers of folks.
Well, it's a beautiful day. We're at the halfway point here at Cedar Falls. And by the way, you talked about last night, it's Cedar Falls, but there's no cedar trees. When do we name it Hemlock Falls?
That's a good thought. But yeah, some of the names are much older than the park. Let's put it that way. And you'll see a lot of things. I joke about Ash Cave. Now, Ash Cave did have ashes originally. When the settlers arrived here, the natives had camped there and left piles of ashes. But those same settlers hauled all of those ashes out to fertilize their farm fields. So you don't find ashes there. You don't find cedar trees because of a mistaken identity of the trees here. It happens, and it's not just Hocking Hills throughout. Burr Oak State Park. There's not a single Burr Oak tree at Burr Oak State Park. They were mistaken identity. But those predate state parks. Those go way back. We're talking, settlement times in Ohio that these names were created, and they've been called that ever since.
Well, we hope everybody comes to Hocking Hills. It's certainly our premier state park, and again, this is our premier event. And so glad to have you here, and keep up the good work, Pat.
We're excited about it.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
You bet.